They say Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to mankind. For this crime, Zeus chained him to a rock where an eagle would devour his liver every day, only for it to regrow each night, so his torment could begin again at dawn. But here's what the myth doesn't tell you. Prometheus didn't steal fire. He stole something far more dangerous. He stole the secret that separated gods from mortals. He stole discipline, and humanity has been running from it ever since. Right now, in this exact moment, you stand at a crossroads that billions of people never even see. Most humans sleepwalk through their entire existence, prisoners of impulse, slaves to comfort, hostages to their own weakness. They live and die having never once wielded the weapon that could have made them legendary. But you're here. You're listening, which means some part of you, however small, knows the truth. You were meant for more than this. You were meant to be a god among mortals. The question is, do you have the courage to claim your birthright? Or will you be like the rest, turning away from the flames because you fear the burn? Chapter 1. The Invisible War. In the ruins of ancient Babylon, archaeologists discovered clay tablets describing a civilization that fell not to invading armies, but to something far more insidious. The tablets speak of a slow decay, a gradual softening, a generation that chose pleasure over purpose and comfort over conquest. Within a single lifetime, the greatest empire of its age crumbled into dust, not because they lacked resources, not because they lacked knowledge, but because they lacked discipline. They lost the invisible war. Today, you are fighting that same war. But unlike the Babylonians, you can't see your enemy. It doesn't wear armor or carry weapons. It doesn't storm your gates or burn your fields. Instead, it whispers. It seduces. It makes weakness look like wisdom and surrender look like self-care. This enemy has 1,000 faces. The snooze button that steals your morning. The endless scroll that devours your attention. The junk food that poisons your body while promising pleasure. The excuses that feel like reasons. The tomorrow that never comes. Every single day, 7 billion people lose this war without even knowing they're fighting it. They wake up with intention and go to bed with regret. They make plans they never execute. They set goals they never reach. They dream dreams that die in the harsh light of Monday morning. And they tell themselves stories to explain why. I'm too busy. I'm too tired. I'm too old, too young, too broken, too far behind. These are not reasons. These are surrender documents written in the ink of wasted potential. The ancient Spartans understood something profound. They knew that the most dangerous battles aren't fought on blood-soaked fields against visible enemies. The most dangerous battles are fought in the quiet moments of choice. When the alarm rings and your warm bed whispers stay. When the work calls and your entertainment beckons. When growth demands sacrifice and comfort promises ease. These are the battles that determine everything. These are the battles that build or break you. And right now, in this invisible war, you are either advancing or retreating. There is no standing still. Consider the architecture of your average day. You wake up already defeated, having hit snooze 3 times, training your brain that your own commands are negotiable. You scroll through other people's curated lives while your coffee gets cold, feeding the comparison monster that will haunt you all day. You skip breakfast or eat garbage, fueling your body with the equivalent of wet cardboard. You arrive at work already exhausted, having expended your mental energy on everything except what matters. You spend 8 hours in reactive mode, responding to emails and requests, letting other people's priorities dictate your day. You come home depleted, collapse on the couch, and medicate your dissatisfaction with screens and substances. You tell yourself tomorrow will be different. It never is. This is not living. This is slow-motion suicide. This is the invisible war, and you are losing. But here's what makes this war so insidious, so devastatingly effective. It feels normal. Look around you. Everyone else is doing the same thing. Your friends, your family, your colleagues, they're all casualties of this war, but they smile and pretend they're fine. They've made peace with mediocrity. They've signed treaties with their weaknesses. They've surrendered so completely they don't even remember what they surrendered. The philosopher Kierkegaard wrote that most men live lives of quiet desperation. He was wrong. It's not quiet. It's deafening. The desperation screams in every Netflix binge that fails to satisfy, in every Sunday night anxiety attack, in every midlife crisis, in every moment of looking in the mirror and not recognizing the person staring back. The desperation is everywhere. We've just learned to call it other things. Stress, burnout, depression, anxiety. These are not diseases. They are symptoms. Symptoms of a life lived in constant retreat from the invisible war. But there is good news. Wars can be won. Battles can turn. Defeats can become victories. The moment you recognize you're in a war is the moment you can start fighting back. And the weapon you need? The only weapon that has ever worked against this particular enemy? Discipline. Not the harsh, joyless, military brutality that word might conjure, but something more powerful. The deliberate, conscious, relentless choice to align your actions with your aspirations instead of your impulses. The Roman poet Ovid wrote, "I see the better way and approve it, but I follow the worse." This is the human condition. This is the war. You know what you should do. You know what would make you better, stronger, healthier, wiser. But knowing changes nothing. Only doing changes everything. And doing, consistently, over time, regardless of feeling, regardless of circumstance, regardless of everything that would stop you, that is discipline. That is the weapon. That is how you win the invisible war. Think about the last promise you made to yourself. Maybe it was a New Year's resolution. Maybe it was a Monday morning commitment. Maybe it was a moment of inspiration where you swore things would change. Now think about how long that promise lasted. A day, a week, an hour. This is the invisible war in action. This is your enemy winning. Every broken promise to yourself is a lost battle. Every excuse accepted is territory surrendered. Every time you choose the easy path over the right path, you're not just losing that moment. You're training yourself to lose. You're building neural pathways of defeat. You're becoming the kind of person who can't trust their own word. The ancient Greeks had a word, akrasia, the state of acting against one's better judgment. They considered it the fundamental human problem. Not lack of knowledge, but lack of will. You know smoking kills. You smoke anyway. You know sugar destroys. You eat it anyway. You know scrolling steals time. You scroll anyway. This is akrasia. This is the invisible war. And it cannot be won with information. It cannot be won with motivation. It can only be won with discipline. Here's the brutal truth that self-help gurus won't tell you because it doesn't sell books. You are not going to wake up one day suddenly transformed. You are not going to have an epiphany that magically makes everything easy. You are not going to stumble upon some secret formula that eliminates all resistance and struggle. The invisible war doesn't end. It never ends. Every day until you die, you will wake up and face the same choice. Advance or retreat. Discipline or chaos. The god you could become or the mortal you've always been. But here's the beautiful part. Here's what makes this worth it. Every battle you win makes the next one easier. Not because the battle changes, but because you do. Every morning you get up when you said you would. You become someone who does what they say. Every workout you complete when you don't feel like it. You become someone who doesn't negotiate with feelings. Every time you choose growth over comfort, You become someone for whom growth is comfortable. This is neuroplasticity in action. This is how discipline rewrites your very identity. The invisible war is real. It's happening right now. And you're in it whether you want to be or not. The only question is, are you going to keep losing? Are you going to keep surrendering your potential one comfortable choice at a time? Or are you going to pick up the weapon that has been lying at your feet this whole time? Are you going to fight? Because I promise you this, the moment you start fighting, the moment you choose discipline, the moment you stop negotiating with weakness and start commanding strength, everything changes. The war doesn't end, but for the first time in your life, you start winning. Chapter 2, The Anatomy of Discipline. In the frozen wastelands of ancient Scandinavia, the Vikings practiced a ritual called the Berserker Gang. Warriors would enter a trance-like state where pain didn't matter, fear didn't exist, and their bodies could perform seemingly superhuman feats. Historians debated for centuries whether this was myth or reality. Then neuroscientists discovered something remarkable. The human brain can be trained to override its own protective mechanisms. It can be disciplined to ignore pain, suppress fear, and push far beyond what it believes possible. The berserkers weren't mythical. They were disciplined, and their secret lives in your skull right now, waiting to be activated. Your brain is the most powerful computer in the known universe. 3 pounds of tissue containing 86 billion neurons, each forming thousands of connections, creating a network of unimaginable complexity. This biological supercomputer controls everything. Your thoughts, your actions, your habits, your personality. Everything you are exists in the electrochemical signals firing between neurons. And here's the most important thing you need to understand about this computer. It can be reprogrammed. Through discipline, you can literally rewire your brain. You can change who you are at the most fundamental level. This is called neuroplasticity. For most of human history, scientists believed the brain was fixed. That personality, habits, and behavioral patterns were set in stone by your 20s. They were catastrophically wrong. Your brain is constantly changing, constantly rewiring itself based on what you do. Every action you take, every thought you think, every choice you make is physically altering the structure of your brain. Neurons that fire together wire together. Pathways that get used get stronger. Pathways that don't get used decay and disappear. You are literally sculpting your brain with every decision. This is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it means every time you choose comfort over growth, you're making comfort easier to choose next time. Every time you give in to distraction, you're strengthening the distraction pathway. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're rewiring your brain to be someone who breaks promises. You are not static. You are not fixed. You are constantly becoming. The question is, what are you becoming? But here's the liberating part. If every action rewires your brain, then you have godlike power over your own transformation. You can literally decide who you want to be and then, through disciplined action, build the neural architecture to become that person. Want to be someone who wakes up early? Wire that pathway through consistent practice. Want to be someone who doesn't eat junk food? Strengthen the discipline pathway and let the junk food pathway atrophy. Your brain is clay. Discipline is the sculptor's hand, and you can shape yourself into anything. The ancient Stoics understood this intuitively. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." He didn't know about neurons and synapses, but he understood the principle. What you repeatedly do becomes who you are, not what you occasionally do, not what you do when you feel motivated. What you do consistently, regardless of feeling, becomes your identity. This is the anatomy of discipline. It's not about willpower, which is finite. It's about building systems and habits that change your brain until discipline becomes automatic. Let's talk about the science of habit formation, because this is where discipline transforms from struggle into inevitability. Every habit has three components: the cue, the routine, and the reward. The cue triggers the behavior. The routine is the behavior itself. The reward is what your brain gets from completing the behavior. Here's the crucial insight. Your brain doesn't care whether the habit is good or bad. It only cares that it works. It only cares about the reward. When you hit snooze, the cue is your alarm. The routine is pressing the button. And the reward is more sleep and comfort. Your brain learns this loop. Alarm equals button equals comfort. After enough repetitions, this becomes automatic. You hit snooze before you're even fully conscious. This is a habit loop. Now here's the powerful part. You can hijack this same mechanism to build discipline. You can design cues that trigger disciplined routines that provide satisfying rewards. And when you do this consistently, discipline stops being a battle and becomes automatic. Consider the habit of exercise. Most people fail at consistent exercise because they're trying to use willpower alone. They wake up, feel tired, and have to engage in a mental battle about whether to work out. This battle depletes willpower, and eventually willpower loses. But what if you remove the battle entirely? What if you design a habit loop so strong that exercise became automatic? Place your workout clothes next to your bed the night before. That's your cue. When you wake up, you see the clothes. The routine is putting them on immediately, before your brain has time to negotiate. Before you know it, you're dressed for exercise. And once you're dressed, the activation energy to actually exercise is minimal. After the workout, you get the reward. Endorphins, a sense of accomplishment, progress toward your goals. After 30 days of this loop, your brain has wired a new pathway. Exercise isn't a decision anymore. It's just what you do when you see workout clothes in the morning. This is the anatomy of discipline at the neural level. You're not trying to be more disciplined in general, which is impossible and exhausting. You're building specific habit loops that make disciplined behavior automatic. James Clear wrote that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. This is neuroscience in a sentence. Your brain will always take the path of least resistance. So make the disciplined path the path of least resistance. But here's where most people get this wrong. They try to build too many habits at once. They try to transform everything simultaneously. Wake up early and work out and meditate and eat healthy and read books and learn a new skill and build a business and improve relationships all at the same time. This is not discipline. This is chaos. This is recipe for failure. Your brain can only handle so much change at once. Every new habit requires neural resources to build. Try to build too many simultaneously, and you'll build none. The ancient principle of Kaizen applies here. Small, continuous improvement. The samurai didn't become master swordsmen overnight. They practiced one cut, one stance, one movement until it became perfect. Then they moved to the next. This is how you build unshakable discipline. One habit at a time. Master it completely. Let it become so automatic that it requires zero mental energy. Then add the next one. Here's a framework. Choose one keystone habit. This is a habit that, when established, makes everything else easier. For most people, waking up early is a keystone habit. When you control your morning, you control your day. Start there. Just that one habit. Wake up at the same time every single day for 30 days. Nothing else. Don't try to be productive. Don't try to work out. Don't try to eat healthy. Just wake up at your chosen time. Build that neural pathway until it's unbreakable. After 30 days, that habit requires no willpower. It's automatic. Now you have extra willpower resources available. Add the next habit. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's reading. Doesn't matter. What matters is you're only building one new pathway at a time. And because you're starting from a foundation of discipline, each subsequent habit becomes easier to build than the last. This is the anatomy of discipline. It's not about being superhuman. It's about being strategic. It's about understanding how your brain actually works and using that knowledge to hack your own behavior. The Vikings weren't magical. They trained their nervous systems through relentless, deliberate practice until their bodies could do things that seemed impossible. You can do the same. Not in battle, but in life. Through disciplined habit formation, you can train your brain to make excellence automatic. The neuroscientist Andrew Huberman talks about the science of willpower depletion. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-control and decision-making, is like a muscle. It gets tired with use. This is why you can be strong and disciplined in the morning, but by evening you're ordering pizza and watching trash TV. Your willpower muscle is exhausted. But here's the key insight. Just like a physical muscle, your willpower muscle can be strengthened through training. And just like a physical muscle, it needs rest to recover. This is why the most disciplined people aren't those who use the most willpower. They're those who need the least. They've designed their lives to minimize willpower requirements. They've built habits and systems that make discipline automatic. They've removed temptations rather than trying to resist them through constant effort. They've structured their environment to support their goals rather than sabotage them. David Goggins talks about creating a cookie jar of past victories. When you face a new challenge, a new test of discipline, you can reach into this mental cookie jar and remind yourself of times you've overcome before. This works because your brain uses past experience to predict the future. If you've done hard things before, your brain believes you can do hard things again. Each disciplined act doesn't just help you in that moment. It builds evidence that shapes how your brain approaches all future challenges. This is why starting is so critical. Your first disciplined action might be small. Maybe you just make your bed. Maybe you just do one push-up. Maybe you just write one sentence. The action itself isn't important. What's important is you're adding a victory to your cookie jar. You're giving your brain evidence that you're the kind of person who does what they say. And that evidence accumulates. One disciplined action leads to another. One victory predicts the next. Before you know it, you're not trying to be disciplined. You simply are disciplined. It's become your identity. The anatomy of discipline isn't mysterious. It's not magic. It's neuroscience. It's understanding that your brain is plastic, moldable, trainable. It's understanding that habits are loops that can be designed. It's understanding that willpower is finite, but systems are infinite. It's understanding that identity follows action, not the other way around. You don't need to become disciplined to act disciplined. You act disciplined, and through that action, you become disciplined. The transformation happens in the doing, not in the deciding. Chapter 3. The 4 Pillars of Unbreakable Discipline. In ancient Greece, the Parthenon stood atop the Acropolis, supported by 46 massive Doric columns. For 2,500 years, through earthquakes and wars and the erosion of time, those columns have held. Not because any single column was sufficient, but because together they formed an unbreakable system. Discipline is the same. Built on a single foundation, it crumbles under pressure. But built on 4 pillars, properly balanced, it becomes unshakable. These are the 4 pillars of unbreakable discipline. Physical mastery, mental fortitude, emotional control, and spiritual purpose. Master all 4, and you become inevitable. The first pillar is physical mastery. Your body is not separate from your mind. This is the great delusion of modern life. We treat the body as a vehicle for the brain, something to be maintained minimally while we focus on intellectual pursuits. This is backwards. Your body is the foundation of everything. When your body is weak, everything else weakens. When your body is strong, everything else strengthens. The ancient Greeks understood this. Mens sana in corpore sano. A healthy mind in a healthy body. Not coincidence. Causation. Consider what happens when you neglect your body. You sleep poorly, which impairs cognitive function, emotional regulation, and willpower. You eat garbage, which destabilizes blood sugar, creates inflammation, and disrupts neurotransmitter production. You don't move, which atrophies muscles, weakens bones, and starves your brain of the blood flow it needs. You're trying to build discipline on a foundation of decay. It doesn't work. It can't work. You cannot be mentally strong while being physically weak. The mind follows the body. Physical mastery begins with sleep. Not negotiable. Not optional. Essential. Your brain requires 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep to function optimally. During sleep, your brain consolidates memories, clears metabolic waste, and restores neurotransmitters. Sleep deprivation impairs your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-control, to the same degree as alcohol intoxication. When you're sleep deprived, you are literally cognitively impaired. You cannot be disciplined while impaired. So sleep becomes your first discipline. Same bedtime every night. Same wake time every morning. No exceptions. This is not laziness. This is strategic. You're maintaining your operating system. Next is nutrition. Your brain is 2% of your body weight, but consumes 20% of your energy. What you eat directly affects cognitive function. The modern diet is designed to maximize profit, not health. Processed foods, refined sugars, industrial seed oils. These are not food. They're products designed to hijack your reward systems and keep you consuming. When you eat this garbage, you're poisoning the very organ you need to maintain discipline. Real food. Meat, fish, eggs, vegetables, fruit, nuts. This is what your biology expects. This is what your brain needs to function. Then movement. Your body was designed to move. For 200,000 years of human evolution, survival required physical exertion. Hunting, gathering, running from predators, fighting enemies, building shelter. Your genes expect daily physical challenge. When you don't provide it, your body assumes you're injured or sick and downregulates everything. Energy decreases. Mood deteriorates. Cognitive function declines. You're not lazy. You're experiencing the natural consequence of a biology receiving inputs it wasn't designed for. Exercise is non-negotiable. Not because you need to look good, though that's a nice side effect, but because you need your biology to function correctly. Resistance training tells your body to maintain muscle and bone. Cardiovascular training tells your body to maintain metabolic efficiency and cardiovascular health. Mobility work tells your body to maintain range of motion and joint health. Minimum effective dose. 3 resistance training sessions per week. 3 to 5 cardiovascular sessions. 10 minutes daily mobility work. This isn't about becoming an athlete. This is about maintaining your human operating system. The Spartans trained daily not because they enjoyed it, but because they understood something profound. Physical weakness is moral weakness. When your body quits, your mind follows. But when your body endures, your mind becomes unbreakable. Every hard workout is training for life. When you push through the pain, when you complete the last rep, when everything screams stop, you're not just building muscle. You're building the neural pathway of perseverance. You're teaching your brain that discomfort is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. You're becoming someone who doesn't quit. The second pillar is mental fortitude. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your worst enemy. Nothing in between. Most people spend their entire lives enslaved to their own thoughts. Every random impulse, every anxious worry, Every negative spiral takes control. They have no distance from their thoughts. They are their thoughts. This is weakness. Mental fortitude is the ability to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them, to experience impulses without acting on them, to face fear without surrendering to it. The Stoics called this dichotomy of control. Some things are within your control. Your actions, your reactions, your effort. Everything else is outside your control. Other people's opinions, outcomes, circumstances. The disciplined mind focuses exclusively on what it can control and remains unmoved by what it cannot. This sounds simple. It's not. It requires constant practice. Your mind will constantly drag you into worry about things you can't control. Your job is to notice this and redirect to what you can control. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the world, faced assassination attempts, plagues, wars, betrayals. Every day could have been consumed by worry about threats he couldn't control. Instead, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is mental fortitude, not the absence of problems, but the refusal to let problems control you. Meditation is the gym for mental fortitude. Just as you lift weights to build physical strength, you meditate to build mental strength. Start simple. Sit. Focus on your breath. When your mind wanders, and it will, notice the wandering and return to breath. That's it. That's the whole practice. But within that simple practice lies profound transformation. Each time you notice your mind wandering and return to breath, you're strengthening the neural pathway of attention control. You're training your mind to follow your commands rather than random impulses. 10 minutes daily. That's all. But do it every day. No exceptions. Not when you feel like it. Not when you have time. Every day. Because mental fortitude isn't about perfect focus. It's about the discipline to keep returning, to keep redirecting, to keep choosing intention over impulse. After 30 days, you will notice something remarkable. Your mind is quieter. You have space between stimulus and response. You can observe your thoughts rather than being controlled by them. This is power. This is the second pillar. The third pillar is emotional control. Emotions are data, not directives. They provide information about your internal state, but they do not get to make decisions. Most people are emotional puppets. Happy emotions, and they fly high. Sad emotions, and they crash low. Angry emotions, and they lash out. Fearful emotions, and they freeze. Their entire life is a roller coaster of reactivity. This is not living. This is being lived. The ancient samurai understood emotional control as essential for survival. In battle, fear makes you hesitate and die. Anger makes you reckless and die. Even joy can distract and make you die. The disciplined warrior maintains emotional equilibrium regardless of circumstance, not suppressing emotions, observing them, feeling them fully, then choosing response rather than reaction. Here's a framework for emotional control. Name it to tame it. When you feel an emotion, name it specifically. Not "I feel bad," but "I feel anxious about the presentation tomorrow." The act of naming activates your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, which dampens the amygdala, the emotional part. Just naming the emotion reduces its intensity. Then ask, is this emotion providing useful information? If you're anxious about a presentation, the information is you care about doing well. Useful. It motivates preparation. If you're anxious about something you can't control, the emotion is noise. Acknowledge it and let it pass. Emotional discipline means creating space between feeling and action. You feel angry. That's fine. Anger is data. It tells you a boundary was crossed. But you don't act on anger immediately. You feel it. You name it. You extract the information. Then you choose how to respond. Maybe you set a boundary calmly. Maybe you remove yourself from the situation. Maybe you recognize the anger is misdirected and let it dissipate. The discipline is in the space. The power is in the choice. Practice this in small moments. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Feel the anger. Name it. Create space. Choose response. Don't let a stranger's thoughtlessness control your emotional state. This is practice for larger challenges. When you lose a job, when a relationship ends, when you face a real crisis. If you've trained emotional control in small moments, you'll have it in large moments. The samurai didn't suddenly become emotionally controlled in battle. They practiced emotional control in every moment of every day until it became who they were. The fourth pillar is spiritual purpose. This has nothing to do with religion, though it might. Spiritual purpose is having a reason that transcends yourself, a North Star that guides when everything else is chaos. Without this, discipline is just suffering. You're enduring pain with no purpose. That doesn't last. But with purpose, discipline transforms from suffering to sacred duty. You're not waking up early because you have to. You're waking up early because you're building something that matters. You're not exercising because you should. You're exercising because you're forging a body worthy of your mission. Purpose transforms discipline from burden to privilege. Viktor Frankl, survivor of Nazi concentration camps, wrote that those who survived weren't the strongest or smartest. They were those who had a reason to survive, a purpose larger than their current suffering. He wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." This is spiritual purpose. Your why is your fuel. When discipline becomes hard, and it will, your why is what carries you through. Your purpose doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to change the world. It just has to matter to you more than comfort matters. Maybe your purpose is being an example for your children. Maybe it's building a business that serves others. Maybe it's creating art that moves people. Maybe it's leaving the world slightly better than you found it. The specific purpose matters less than the depth of commitment to it. Here's how to find your purpose. Ask yourself, what would I do if I had 10 years to live but unlimited resources? Not what would I buy, but what would I do? What would you create, contribute, become? Now ask, what would I do if I had 1 year to live? Now 1 month. As the time constraint tightens, the frivolous falls away. What remains is what truly matters to you. That's your purpose. That's your why. Once you have your why, connect every disciplined action to it. You're not just waking up early. You're waking up early because those morning hours are when you do your most important work, the work that serves your purpose. You're not just exercising. You're exercising because your purpose requires energy and longevity, and you refuse to let a weak body limit your mission. When discipline has purpose, it stops being discipline. It becomes devotion. These 4 pillars, physical mastery, mental fortitude, emotional control, spiritual purpose, they're not separate. They're interconnected. Physical strength makes mental strength easier. Mental strength makes emotional control possible. Emotional control allows you to stay connected to purpose. Purpose gives meaning to physical training. They support each other. This is why you build all 4, not just one. A building with 1 pillar falls. A building with 4 pillars stands for millennia. Build all 4, and you become unshakable. You become what the gods themselves recognize as one of their own. Chapter 4. The Daily Battlefield. The Battle of Thermopylae lasted 3 days. 300 Spartans held a narrow pass against millions of Persians. History remembers those 3 days. What history forgets is the decades of daily training that made those 3 days possible. Every single day, from age 7 until death, Spartan warriors trained, not when they felt motivated, not when war was imminent. Every day, because they understood something profound. Battles aren't won in the battle. They're won in the 10,000 days before the battle. Your life is the same. You will face defining moments, crisis, opportunity, tests that determine your trajectory. But those moments aren't where discipline matters most. Those moments simply reveal the discipline you've built every single day when nothing was at stake. This is the daily battlefield. This is where legends are forged or failures are confirmed. Every morning, you wake up at the edge of a battlefield. On one side stands the person you want to become. Strong, focused, capable, disciplined. On the other side stands the person you've always been. Weak, distracted, limited, chaotic. Between them is a narrow bridge, and the bridge is today. The question is, which side of the bridge will you be standing on when the sun sets? Will you have advanced toward your ideal self or retreated toward your historical self? This battle doesn't take a day off. It doesn't pause on weekends. It doesn't grant you holidays. Every single day, you fight this battle. And every day's outcome determines who you're becoming. The Spartans had a morning ritual. Before dawn, while enemies slept, they were already training. This wasn't just physical preparation. It was psychological warfare against themselves. They were proving, before the day truly began, that they were the kind of people who did hard things when it was hard. This is the power of morning rituals. The first battle you face each day sets the template for every battle that follows. When the morning, and you've got momentum. Lose the morning, and you're climbing uphill all day. Here's what a disciplined morning looks like. You set your alarm for the same time every day. Not the time you want to wake up, the time you will wake up. No snooze, no negotiation. Alarm rings, feet hit floor. Within 60 seconds of waking, you're vertical. This is crucial. Every second you stay in bed after the alarm is a negotiation with weakness. And when you negotiate with weakness, weakness wins. 60-second rule. Alarm, vertical, done. You've won your first battle before your eyes are fully open. Next, you make your bed. This seems trivial. It's not. Admiral William McRaven gave a speech about this. Make your bed every morning, and you've accomplished your first task of the day. It will give you a sense of pride and encourage you to do another task and another. By the end of the day, that one task will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed is a micro-victory, and micro-victories accumulate into momentum. Then you move. Before checking your phone, before looking at email, before allowing the external world any access to your attention, you move your body. This could be a full workout. It could be 10 minutes of stretching. It could be a walk around the block. Doesn't matter. What matters is you're telling your biology that you're awake, alert, and ready. You're flooding your system with endorphins and dopamine. You're setting your baseline state for the day as energized rather than sluggish. Only after you've won these 3 battles, alarm, bed, movement, do you allow external input. Now you can check your phone. Now you can read the news. Now you can engage with the world. But you engage from a position of strength. You've already proven to yourself that you're disciplined. You've already won 3 times. You have momentum. This is completely different from waking up, immediately grabbing your phone, and spending an hour scrolling through other people's lives, absorbing their priorities, filling your head with noise. That's starting your day in reaction mode. That's losing the first battle. After your morning ritual comes your most important work. Not your most urgent work. Your most important work. The thing that, if you did it consistently, would transform your life. For most people, this is something they've been avoiding for years. Writing that book, building that business, developing that skill, creating that art. Whatever it is, it's been on your list forever. And every day you tell yourself, you'll get to it later. You never do. Because later means never. The disciplined approach is to do your most important work first, before meetings, before email, before putting out fires, before anything else can steal your attention. This is called eating the frog. Mark Twain supposedly said that if you eat a live frog first thing in the morning, you can go through the rest of the day knowing the worst is behind you. Your frog is your most important, usually most difficult, work. Eat it first. Do it when your willpower is fresh. Do it when distractions haven't depleted you. Do it when you have the energy and focus to do it well. 2 hours. That's all. Just 2 hours of deep work on your most important thing. Every single day. No exceptions. No excuses. You'd be shocked how much you can accomplish with 2 hours of focused effort every day for a year. That's 730 hours. That's enough to write multiple books, build a significant business, master a new skill, transform your body. 2 hours doesn't sound like much, but compounded over a year, over 5 years, over a decade, it's the difference between a life of potential and a life of regret. Here's the key. During those 2 hours, you are unreachable. Phone off. Email closed. Door locked. You are not available to the world. Because if you're available, the world will steal this time. It will always have something urgent. Someone will need you. Something will be on fire. But here's the truth. Urgent is not important. The urgent things will take care of themselves or they won't. But they rarely matter long term. Your important work, that's what builds your future. That's what creates your legacy. That's what transforms your life. Protect these 2 hours like your life depends on it. Because it does. After your deep work block, you can engage with the reactive world. Now you can check email. Now you can take meetings. Now you can handle urgencies. You've already won the day. Everything else is cleanup. This is a completely different experience than spending your whole day in reactive mode, bouncing from emergency to emergency, never working on what actually matters. Midday comes. This is when most people lose discipline. They've used their morning willpower. They're tired. They're hungry. This is when the junk food calls, when the couch whispers, when the TV beckons. This is a critical battlefield. If you're going to lose the day, it will probably be here. The solution is to have a protocol, not a decision. A protocol. Protocols are decided in advance when willpower is strong, so you don't have to make decisions when willpower is weak. Your midday protocol might look like this. Lunch is predetermined. You know what you're eating because you planned it yesterday or prepared it in advance. No decision required. After lunch, you take a walk. Not optional. 20 minutes. This serves multiple purposes. Movement prevents the post-lunch energy crash. Fresh air and sunlight reset your circadian rhythm. Walking promotes creativity and problem-solving. But most importantly, it's a disciplined act when discipline is hard. You're proving to yourself that you don't negotiate with comfort. Then you have your second work block. Not as creative or deep as the morning, but focused and productive. Another 2 to 3 hours. You're completing tasks, making progress, checking things off lists. By the time evening arrives, you've won every major battle of the day. You've done your most important work. You've maintained your physical protocols. You've protected your attention. You've chosen discipline over chaos again and again and again. Evening is for restoration, but disciplined restoration. Not collapse. Not checking out. Not medicating stress with substances or screens. Disciplined restoration. Maybe you read. Maybe you spend quality time with loved ones. Maybe you pursue a hobby that brings joy. But it's intentional. It's chosen. It's not default behavior. It's not scrolling until your eyes blur. It's not watching television until you fall asleep on the couch. It's conscious unwinding. Then your evening routine. Just as important as your morning routine. You prepare for tomorrow. You lay out clothes. You plan the next day. You review what you accomplished today. You journal about victories and lessons. You're closing the loop on today and setting up success for tomorrow. This isn't just organization. This is psychological completion. You're telling your brain that today is done. You gave it everything. Tomorrow is a new battlefield, and you're ready. Then sleep. Same time every night. Same sleep hygiene routine. Cool dark room. No screens for an hour before bed. Maybe you read. Maybe you meditate. But you're giving your brain the wind-down signals it needs to prepare for deep sleep. Because tomorrow, you fight this battle again. And you need every weapon sharp. This is the daily battlefield. Not glamorous. Not exciting. Not the stuff of movies or viral videos. Just the same disciplines, repeated over and over and over. Wake, move, work, eat, work, restore, sleep. Day after day after day. This is what builds legends. Not one heroic act. 10,000 ordinary acts, done with extraordinary consistency. The poet Mary Oliver wrote, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" Every day is one less day you have to answer that question. Every day, you're either building the answer or avoiding it. The daily battlefield is where you decide. Will you be someone who lived fully, or someone who merely existed? Will you be someone who claimed their potential, or someone who wondered what if? The Spartans at Thermopylae didn't suddenly become heroes in those 3 days. They revealed the heroes they'd become over decades of daily discipline. Your defining moment is coming. Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's 10 years from now. But it's coming. And when it arrives, you won't rise to the occasion. You'll fall to the level of your daily discipline. So fight. Every day. Every battle. As if your life depends on it. Because it does. Chapter 5. The Crucible Forged Through Fire. In the deepest mines of the ancient world, they discover metal that could not be worked with normal fire. Bronze and copper would melt and bend with ordinary heat. But this metal, iron, required something more. They built furnaces that burned hotter than the sun. They placed the iron in this inferno until it glowed white. Then they hammered it. Then back in fire. Hammer, fire, until slowly, agonizingly, the formless lump transformed into something stronger than anything that had come before. Steel, unbreakable, legendary, the strongest blade ever forged by human hands. You are that iron. Discipline is the furnace, and pain is the hammer that shapes you into steel. Every great warrior tradition understood this. The Spartans had their Goj. The samurai had their brutal training regimens. The Mongols rode horses before they could walk and drew bows until their fingers bled. They didn't do this because they enjoyed suffering. They did it because they understood that transformation requires destruction. To become something new, something must die. The comfortable version of you must be destroyed so the powerful version can emerge. And destruction is painful. There's no other way. Modern culture lies to you about this. It tells you that growth should be comfortable, that you should love yourself exactly as you are. That change should be easy and pleasant. These are beautiful lies designed to keep you weak and consuming. Real growth is violent. Real transformation is agonizing. Real evolution requires you to break yourself down to the cellular level and rebuild from nothing. This isn't metaphor. This is literal biological reality. When you lift weights, you're creating micro tears in your muscle fibers. Your body interprets this as damage and responds by rebuilding the muscle stronger than before. But the growth doesn't happen during the workout. It happens during the pain after, when your muscles ache and burn and you can barely walk. That pain is the signal that transformation is occurring. No pain, no signal. No signal, no growth. The pain is not a side effect. The pain is the mechanism. This principle applies to everything. When you push yourself mentally, reading difficult texts, solving complex problems, learning new skills, you're stressing your neural pathways. This stress feels like confusion, frustration, the sensation that you're stupid and will never understand. That feeling is growth. Your brain is reorganizing itself, creating new connections, becoming more capable. The confusion is not failure. It's progress. When you face emotional challenges, when you're forced to confront parts of yourself you've avoided, when old trauma surface and demand resolution, the pain is excruciating. Every instinct screams to run, to numb, to distract. But if you stay with the pain, if you face it fully, you emerge transformed. The parts of yourself that were broken become your greatest strengths. The wounds become wisdom. But only if you go through the pain, not around it. The ancient alchemists spoke of solving et coagula, dissolve and coagulate. To create gold, you must first dissolve the base metal completely. Only then can it be reformed into something precious. You are the base metal. Your suffering is the solvent. Your discipline is the heat that drives the process. And if you can endure the dissolution without breaking, you emerge as gold. But most people can't handle it. They feel the pain and quit. They turn down the heat. They remove themselves from the crucible. And they wonder why they never transform. David Goggins talks about the 40% rule. When your mind tells you you're done, you're actually only 40% done. You have 60% more capacity that your brain is hiding from you. Your brain's job is to keep you alive, and it does this by being incredibly conservative with energy expenditure. The moment things get uncomfortable, your brain sends pain signals and fatigue signals and tells you to stop. But these signals are lies. Or more accurately, they're conservative estimates designed to prevent you from hurting yourself. The truth is, you can go much further than your brain wants you to believe. This is the crucible. This is where discipline becomes supernatural. When every part of you is screaming stop, and you don't stop. When your body is begging for rest, and you take one more step. When your mind is flooded with reasons to quit, and you keep going anyway. In that moment, in that impossible, agonizing moment of continuing past what should be possible, you're not just building physical capacity. You're rewriting your identity. You're becoming someone who doesn't quit. And once you become that person, everything changes. The Navy SEALs call it Hell Week. 5.5 days of continuous training with a maximum of 4 hours of sleep total. Most candidates quit, not because they physically can't continue, but because mentally they can't handle the suffering. The ones who make it through aren't necessarily the strongest or fastest. They're the ones who can suffer longer. They're the ones who've learned that pain is temporary, but quitting is permanent. They're the ones who understand that the crucible is where seals are forged, and if they want to be seals, they must endure the forging. Your life has crucibles. Maybe not as dramatic as Hell Week, but just as defining. Maybe it's building a business while working a job you hate. Maybe it's losing 100 pounds while everyone around you eats garbage. Maybe it's leaving a toxic relationship while society tells you to stay. Maybe it's pursuing a dream while everyone says you'll fail. These crucibles will define you. Not your genetics, not your background, not your education. How you handle the crucible determines everything. Here's what happens in a crucible. First, you face the challenge with confidence. You think, I can do this. Then the pain starts, and your confidence wavers. You think, this is harder than I expected. Then the pain intensifies, and doubt sets in. You think, maybe I can't do this. Then the pain becomes unbearable, and your mind offers escape. You think, I should quit. This isn't worth it. I'll try again later. This is the critical moment. This is where 99% of people quit. But if you don't quit, if you stay in the fire, something magical happens. The pain doesn't decrease, but your relationship to pain changes. You realize you can suffer and not break. You realize pain is just sensation, and sensation can be observed without surrendering to it. You realize that the voice telling you to quit is not you. It's your survival mechanism, and survival mechanisms are designed to keep you safe, not to make you great. And once you realize you can choose not to listen to that voice, you become unstoppable. Viktor Frankl, in the Nazi concentration camps, discovered that even in the most horrific suffering imaginable, humans can find meaning. He watched people endure the unendurable, not because they were superhuman, but because they had a reason that was more important than the pain. He developed logotherapy, the therapy of meaning, based on this insight. He wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost anyhow." Your why is your shield in the crucible. When the pain becomes unbearable, when every part of you wants to quit, you return to your why. You remember what you're building, who you're becoming, what you're proving, and that memory gives you the strength to take one more step. The crucible isn't punishment. It's privilege. It's the universe offering you the chance to become more than you are. But the offer comes disguised as suffering. Most people see the suffering and run. They never realize what they're running from. They're not running from pain. They're running from their potential. They're running from the person they could become, because that person can only be born in fire. Here's the beautiful part. Once you've been through a crucible and come out the other side, you're not the same person. You've proven to yourself that you're capable of enduring, that you're capable of suffering, that you're capable of continuing when continuing seems impossible. This is a gift that can never be taken away. This is a strength that compounds, because the next crucible is easier, not because the pain is less, but because you've trained yourself to handle pain. You've been forged before. You know you can be forged again. This is why the most disciplined people actively seek discomfort. They're not masochists. They're strategists. They know that comfort makes you soft and suffering makes you strong. So they choose suffering voluntarily. They take cold showers. They fast. They do hard workouts when easy ones would suffice. They're deliberately putting themselves in smaller crucibles so they're prepared for larger ones. They're forging themselves a little bit every day so that when life demands they be steel, they're ready. The ancient Spartans had a tradition. When boys turned 12, they were sent into the wilderness with nothing. No food, no shelter, no weapons, just their discipline and their training. Survive or die. Most survived. But survival wasn't the point. The point was proving to themselves that they could endure anything, that no matter what life threw at them, they would not break. This is the gift of the crucible. Unshakable confidence born from endured suffering. You will face your crucibles. You're probably in one right now. The question is, will you stay in the fire? Will you let it forge you? Or will you remove yourself and remain iron? Soft and formless? The choice is yours. But know this. On the other side of the crucible is a version of you that is stronger, harder, more capable than you can currently imagine. That version of you can handle anything. That version of you is not afraid. That version of you is steel. But to become that person, you must endure the forging. You must stay in the fire. You must let the hammer break you, so you can be rebuilt as something unbreakable. The crucible is calling. Will you answer? Or will you look away and spend the rest of your life wondering what you could have been if only you'd had the courage to endure? Chapter 6. The Long Game, Decade Discipline. In the year 1177, a Mongolian slave named Temujin was captured, beaten, and left to die. He escaped. Over the next 3 decades, through relentless discipline, strategic thinking, and iron will, he united the Mongolian tribes, conquered most of the known world, and became Genghis Khan, the most powerful ruler in human history. His empire stretched from Korea to Europe. 30 years, not 30 days, not 30 months. 3 decades of daily discipline, of facing impossible odds, of continuing when everyone said it was hopeless. This is decade discipline. This is the long game. And this is what separates the legendary from the forgotten. Modern culture has destroyed our ability to think long-term. Everything is optimized for now. Fast food, fast money, fast results. Lose 30 pounds in 30 days. Get rich quick. Overnight success. These are myths designed to separate you from your money and keep you perpetually dissatisfied. Real transformation takes time. Real success is built slowly. Real power accumulates over decades. But nobody wants to hear this. It's not sexy. It's not marketable. It's not viral. But it's true. The average human life is about 4,000 weeks. 75 years. That's it. That's all you get. Seems long until you realize how fast weeks pass. How many weeks have you already wasted? How many years have you spent doing things that don't matter? Living by default instead of design? Following the path of least resistance? If you're 30, you probably have 2,000 weeks left. If you're 40, 1,500 weeks. If you're 50, 1,000 weeks. Count them. Watch them pass. Each week, you're either building towards something or you're not. There's no neutral. Here's the math that changes everything. Let's say you want to master something. Research suggests 10,000 hours of deliberate practice creates mastery. That's intimidating. 10,000 hours sounds impossible. But let's break it down. 2 hours per day of focused practice. That's 10 hours per week. 50 weeks per year, accounting for breaks. 500 hours per year. 10,000 hours divided by 500 hours equals 20 years. 20 years to master anything. That seems long. But here's the question. Where will you be in 20 years? You'll be 20 years older either way. The question is, will you be 20 years older and a master? Or 20 years older with nothing to show for it? Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. They set impossible goals for next year, fail, and quit. They never think about what 10 years of consistent effort could produce. 10 years of writing 2 hours daily? You'd have multiple books published. 10 years of working out 5 days per week? You'd have a body that defies age. 10 years of building a business? You'd have an empire. 10 years of learning and growing? You'd be unrecognizable from who you are today. But decade discipline requires something most people don't have. Patience. We want results now. We want validation now. We want success now. But the universe doesn't care what we want. The universe has its own timeline. Seeds don't become trees overnight. Babies don't become adults in a week. Caterpillars don't become butterflies instantly. Transformation takes time. And if you can't accept that, you'll quit before the transformation completes. The Chinese bamboo tree is a perfect metaphor. You plant the seed, water it, fertilize it. Nothing happens. Year 1, no growth above ground. Year 2, still nothing. Year 3, still nothing. For years of work with nothing to show for it, most people would quit. But in year 5, the bamboo tree grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. 90 feet in 6 weeks after 4 years of nothing. Here's the question. Did the tree grow in 6 weeks? Or did it grow over 5 years? The answer is obvious. It spent 4 years growing roots deep enough to support 90 feet of height. The growth was always happening. It just wasn't visible. Your discipline is the same. You're building roots. Deep, strong, invisible roots. And for a long time, nobody will see your progress. Nobody will applaud. Nobody will care. You look the same. Your bank account will look the same. your life will look the same. And everyone around you will judge. They'll say you're wasting your time. They'll say you should quit. They'll say you should do something practical. And part of you will believe them, because you can't see the roots growing. You can only see that nothing's changed above ground. This is where most people quit, right before the breakthrough. Right before year 5, when the bamboo shoots 90 feet. They quit in year 4. They quit when they're the closest to success they've ever been. They quit because they can't see the progress. But the progress is there. It's always there. Every day of discipline is building roots. Every day of showing up is growing strength. Every day of doing the work is one day closer to the breakthrough. Jeff Bezos talks about thinking in decades. When he started Amazon, he told investors he was building for the long term. No profits for years, maybe decades. Most investors ran, but the ones who stayed became billionaires. Because Bezos understood decade discipline. He understood that real value takes time to build. He wasn't optimizing for next quarter. He was optimizing for next decade. And that long-term thinking, that willingness to sacrifice short-term gains for long-term dominance, created one of the most valuable companies in human history. You need this same perspective. You're not building for next month. You're building for next decade. You're not optimizing for how you feel today. You're optimizing for who you'll be in 10 years. You're not focused on instant results. You're focused on inevitable results. Because results are inevitable if you don't quit. Time and consistency beat everything. Always. Without exception. Warren Buffett's wealth illustrates this perfectly. He's worth over $100 billion. But 99% of that wealth was accumulated after his 50th birthday. 99%. He started investing young. He was disciplined consistently. But the real power came from decades of compound growth. This is how wealth works. This is how skill works. This is how everything works. The first decade builds the foundation. The second decade builds the structure. The third decade builds the empire. But if you quit in year 3 because you don't see results yet, you never get to year 30. Delayed gratification is the cheat code to life. The marshmallow test proved this. Kids who could delay eating one marshmallow to get to later had better life outcomes across every metric. Better grades, better jobs, better relationships, better health, everything. The single best predictor of life success is the ability to delay gratification, to choose the larger future reward over the smaller immediate reward. This is what decade discipline is. It's choosing the person you'll be in 10 years over the pleasure you could have today. Every discipline is a choice between two futures. Eating healthy is choosing future health over current pleasure. Saving money is choosing future security over current consumption. Working out is choosing future strength over current comfort. Reading books is choosing future knowledge over current entertainment. Every single discipline choice is a vote for your future self. Every undisciplined choice is stealing from your future self. The question is, which self are you serving? The one today who wants comfort? Or the one 10 years from now who wants capability? The Stoics had a practice called premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. They would imagine the worst possible outcomes: loss of health, loss of wealth, loss of loved ones, loss of everything. Not to be pessimistic, but to prepare, to accept, to recognize that everything is temporary. This practice made them unshakable, because they'd already faced the worst in their minds. Nothing could surprise them. Nothing could break them. Decade discipline requires this same practice. You must visualize the long game. You must see yourself at 80, looking back at your life. Will you be proud? Will you have regrets? Will you wish you'd been more disciplined? Or will you be satisfied that you gave everything? This visualization makes present discipline easier. Because you're no longer choosing between comfort and discipline. You're choosing between two versions of your future self. The one who is satisfied and the one who is regretful. When you see it that way, the choice becomes obvious. Here's the truth that nobody wants to accept. You're going to die. Not someday. Someday soon. Whether you live 30 more years or 50 more years, it will pass in an instant. Time accelerates as you age. The years start flying by. And one day, suddenly, you're old. And you look back. And you ask the question everyone asks. Did I live? Did I really live? Or did I just exist? Did I build something meaningful? Or did I waste my time? Did I become who I was capable of becoming? Or did I settle for comfort? The only way to ensure you can answer yes to the right questions is to commit to the long game now. Not tomorrow. Not Monday. Now. Decide what you're building. Decide who you're becoming. Decide what your legacy will be. Then commit to decades of discipline and service of that vision. It won't be easy. It won't be fast. It won't be celebrated for a long time. But it will be worth it. Because in 10 years, you'll be grateful you started today. And in 20 years, you'll be legendary. But only if you start. Only if you commit. Only if you embrace the long game. Decade discipline. The choice to build slowly. To think long-term. To sacrifice now for future power. This is what separates the forgotten from the immortal. The question is, which one will you be? Chapter 7. The Eternal Throne. Legacy and Immortality. When Alexander the Great died at 32, his empire crumbled within years. The territories he conquered were lost. The cities he built fell to ruin. But his name echoes through 23 centuries. Children in schools across the world still learn his story. His strategies are still studied by military commanders. His legend grows stronger with each passing generation. He achieved something rarer than conquest. He achieved immortality, not through his body, which decayed to dust millennia ago, but through his legacy, through the mark he left on history, through discipline that became legend that became eternal. You will die. This is not pessimism. This is fact. Your body is temporary. Your physical existence is finite. Everything you own will be sold or thrown away. Everyone who knows you will eventually die. Within 3 generations, you'll likely be completely forgotten. Unless you build something that outlasts your flesh. Unless you create a legacy that transcends your mortality. Unless your discipline becomes so profound, so transformative, that it echoes into eternity. This is possible, but only if you choose it. Only if you discipline yourself, not for your own benefit, but for the benefit of those who come after. The ancient Egyptians believed that you die twice. The first death is physical, when your body stops functioning. The second death is when your name is spoken for the last time. When the last person who remembers you dies, you die again, this time forever. The pharaohs built pyramids not to house their bodies, but to preserve their names, to cheat the second death, to ensure that thousands of years later, people would still speak their names. And it worked. We remember Khufu, Ramesses, Tutankhamun, bodies long dust, but names eternal. You probably won't build a pyramid, but you can build something just as permanent. You can build a life so disciplined, so impactful, so meaningful that it creates ripples that never stop. Every person you influence influences others. Every life you change changes other lives. Every piece of wisdom you share gets shared again. The reach of your discipline, if truly lived, is infinite. This is the path to immortality, not through monuments of stone, but through monuments of impact. Marcus Aurelius never intended to be immortal. He wrote his meditations as personal notes to himself about how to be a better man. He had no idea that 2,000 years later, millions would read his words and be transformed. He was just practicing discipline. Daily. Consistently. Trying to be better. But that discipline, that commitment to growth, that refusal to let power corrupt him, became his legacy. He's more alive today than most people who are physically breathing, because his impact continues. His wisdom guides. His example inspires. This is immortality. Your discipline is your legacy. Not what you say you'll do. Not what you intend to do. What you actually do. Every day. Consistently. Over decades. That discipline creates patterns. Those patterns become habits. Those habits become character. That character becomes your identity. That identity influences everyone who knows you. And their influenced identity influences everyone they know. Your discipline, or a lack of it, ripples through time and space, touching lives you'll never meet, in ways you'll never know. The question is, what ripples are you creating? If you're undisciplined, if you're lazy, if you're weak, if you're constantly making excuses, you're giving everyone around you permission to be the same. Your children see you. They learn not from your words, but from your actions. If you talk about discipline but don't live it, you teach them that words are meaningless. If you make commitments and break them, you teach them that commitments are optional. If you choose comfort over growth, you teach them to do the same. Your undisciplined life becomes their blueprint for an undisciplined life, and they pass it to their children, and it ripples forward generation after generation, a legacy of weakness. But if you're disciplined, truly disciplined, you create the opposite ripple. Your children see you wake up early every day. They see you exercise even when tired. They see you do hard things even when you don't want to. They see you keep your word. They see you choose growth over comfort. And they learn that this is what strength looks like. They learn that discipline isn't punishment, it's power. They learn that they're capable of more than they think. And they carry this lesson forward to their children, to everyone they meet. Your disciplined life becomes a lighthouse, showing others the way through darkness. This is legacy. But legacy isn't just about children. It's about everyone you touch. The colleague who watches you maintain discipline under pressure and decides they can too. The friend who sees you transform your body and realizes they can transform theirs. The stranger who hears your story and finds hope in their own struggle. You have no idea how many lives you influence. No idea how far your ripples travel. But I promise you, they travel far. And they last long. Long after you're gone. The ancient concept of Ubuntu, from African philosophy, teaches that a person is a person through other people. You exist in relation to others. Your humanity is bound up in their humanity. What you do matters not just for you, but for everyone. This is why discipline is not selfish. Yes, it benefits you, but it benefits everyone who comes in contact with you. Your strength gives others permission to be strong. Your discipline gives others permission to be disciplined. Your transformation proves to others that transformation is possible. Viktor Frankl wrote that between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Your disciplined life is that space made visible. You show others that they have the power to choose, that they're not victims of circumstance, that they can respond with strength regardless of stimulus. This is perhaps the greatest gift one human can give another. The example of agency, the proof that choice matters. Steve Jobs, love him or hate him, understood legacy. He said he wanted to put a dent in the universe. He wanted to create something so impactful that the universe itself changed shape because of his existence. And he did. Not through one product. Through disciplined innovation over decades. Through refusing to settle. Through demanding excellence from himself and everyone around him. Through suffering through failures and continuing anyway. His discipline created Apple. Apple changed how humans interact with technology. That change is permanent. That's a dent in the universe. That's legacy. You might think you can't create that kind of impact. You're not a CEO. You're not famous. You're just regular. But regular people create extraordinary legacy all the time. The teacher who believed in a student everyone else gave up on. That student becomes a doctor who saves thousands of lives. That teacher's discipline, their refusal to give up, ripples forward through every life that doctor touches. The parent who works 3 jobs to give their kids opportunities they never had. Those kids go to college, build careers, raise their own children with the same work ethic. Generations of success from one parent's disciplined sacrifice. The coach who pushes athletes beyond what they think possible. Those athletes learn that their limits are lies. They carry that lesson into business, art, science, life. They push their own limits. They teach others to push theirs. One coach's discipline creates a cascade of people who refuse to settle. A single life, lived with discipline, can literally change thousands of other lives. But only if you live it. Only if you're disciplined not just when it's convenient, but when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Here's the thing about legacy. You don't get to see most of it. You won't know how your discipline influences others. You won't see the ripples. You won't hear the stories of lives changed because you chose growth over comfort. You have to trust that the impact is real even though you can't see it. This requires faith. Not religious faith, though it might be, but faith in the idea that how you live matters, that your choices echo, that your discipline doesn't just change you, it changes the world. The Roman poet Horace wrote, Exegi monumentum ere perennius. I have erected a monument more lasting than bronze. He was talking about his poetry, but the principle applies to any disciplined life. Your discipline is your monument, more lasting than bronze, more permanent than stone, because bronze corrodes, stone erodes, but influence multiplies. Your disciplined life plants seeds in others. Those seeds grow. Those plants produce more seeds. The growth is exponential, and it never stops. Think about the people who influenced you, the mentor who believed in you, the friend who challenged you, the author whose book changed your perspective. Most of them have no idea they influenced you. They lived their disciplined lives and touched your life in the process. Now think about how many people you're influencing without knowing it. People who watch you from a distance and draw strength. People who hear stories about you and decide to try harder. People whose lives intersect yours for a moment and are forever changed. This is legacy. This is immortality. This is the eternal throne. The throne isn't a place of rest. It's not retirement. It's not the end. The throne is a position of responsibility, of stewardship, of continuing to show up long after most people would quit, because others are watching. Others are counting on you. Others need to see that discipline is possible, sustainable, worth it. You don't get to quit. You don't get to rest. You sit on the throne by continuing to be disciplined until your last breath, because your last breath isn't the end of your influence. It's just the beginning of your legend. Alexander died young, but his discipline created a legend that outlived his body by millennia. Marcus Aurelius died at 58, but his wisdom guides people centuries later. Jobs died at 56, but his innovations continue to change the world. None of them got to see the full impact of their disciplined lives, but the impact is real, and permanent, and growing. Your throne awaits, not in some distant future, but now, today, this moment. Every disciplined act is you sitting on that throne. Every choice for growth over comfort is you claiming your legacy. Every day you show up is you building immortality. The question isn't whether you'll have a legacy. You will. Everyone does. The question is, what will that legacy be? Will it be a life of discipline that inspired others, or a life of comfort that taught nothing? The eternal throne, built from daily discipline, sustained by unbreakable consistency, crowned with the knowledge that your life matters, not just for you, but for everyone who comes after. Now sit, rule, and never ever stop. But sitting on the throne requires understanding something most people never grasp. Legacy is not something you create at the end of your life. Legacy is not what people say at your funeral. Legacy is not the obituary or the headstone or the memorial. Legacy is being created right now, in this moment, in every moment. Every action you take is either building your legacy or destroying it. Every word you speak is either adding to your monument or chipping away at it. Every choice you make is either planting seeds that will grow for generations or poisoning the soil for those who come after. The ancient Romans had a concept they called mos maiorum, the way of the ancestors. They believed that the strength of Rome didn't come from its armies or its wealth. It came from the accumulated wisdom and discipline of all the generations that came before. Each generation inherited the discipline of their ancestors and added to it. Then they passed it forward, stronger than they received it. This is how civilizations become great. This is how families become dynasties. This is how individuals become immortal, not by preserving themselves, but by strengthening the chain. Think about the great family dynasties throughout history. The Medicis ruled Florence for 3 centuries. The Rothschilds built financial empires that lasted generations. The Kennedys created political legacies that still echo. What made these families legendary wasn't individual genius. It was disciplined thinking across generations. Each generation understood they were custodians, not owners. They were temporary stewards of something larger than themselves. They made decisions not for their own benefit, but for the benefit of their grandchildren's grandchildren. This is generational discipline. This is how you build something that lasts forever. You are a bridge. Behind you are all the ancestors who struggled and suffered and sacrificed so you could exist. They fought wars. They survived famines. They endured plagues. They crossed oceans. They worked themselves to death so their children could have better lives. Thousands of years of human struggle led to you. You are the culmination of countless acts of discipline by people whose names you'll never know. And ahead of you are all the descendants who will either benefit from your discipline or suffer from your weakness. You connect the past to the future. The question is, what will you pass forward? The Iroquois Confederacy had a principle called the 7th generation. Every decision they made, they considered its impact on the 7th generation to come. Not their children, not their grandchildren, their great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren. People they would never meet. People whose world they couldn't imagine. But they made decisions for them anyway. They planted trees they would never sit under. They preserved lands they would never walk. They built systems they would never use. Because they understood that true legacy thinks in centuries, not years. When you plant a tree, you're practicing generational discipline. You won't benefit from that tree's full maturity. Your children might. Your grandchildren definitely will. But you plant it anyway. When you build character in yourself, you're doing the same thing. Your discipline creates behavioral patterns that your children will unconsciously absorb. They'll pass those patterns to their children. 4 generations from now, your great-grandchildren will exhibit discipline or chaos based on the choice you make today. They'll never know your name, but they'll live your legacy. This is the weight of the throne. This is the responsibility of discipline. You're not just choosing for yourself. You're choosing for everyone who comes after. Your discipline or your weakness will echo through generations. The question is, what echo do you want to create? Do you want your descendants to thank you or curse you? Do you want to be the strong link in the chain or the weak one that almost broke it. History is filled with individuals who understood this responsibility and bore it with honor. George Washington could have been king. After winning the Revolutionary War, he had the army's loyalty, the people's love, and absolute power. He could have crowned himself and established a dynasty. Instead, he served 2 terms as president and stepped down. He surrendered power voluntarily, something almost unprecedented in human history. Why? Because he understood legacy. He understood that what he did would set the template for every president who followed. His discipline, his voluntary surrender of power, became the foundation of American democracy. One man's choice echoed through 2.5 centuries. That's legacy. That's the eternal throne. Or consider Cincinnatus, the Roman farmer who twice was called to be dictator, absolute ruler of Rome in times of crisis. Twice he saved Rome, and twice, instead of keeping power, he returned to his farm. He chose his plow over a crown. Why? Because he understood that the republic was more important than any individual. His example of disciplined self-limitation became legendary. It inspired Washington. It inspired countless leaders throughout history. A farmer who lived 2,500 years ago still influences how we think about power and leadership. His discipline transcended death. His choice became eternal. These men understood something that most people miss. The throne isn't about power over others. It's about power over yourself. The greatest discipline isn't commanding armies. It's commanding your own ego. The highest form of strength isn't conquest. It's restraint. When you have power and choose not to abuse it. When you have advantage and choose not to exploit it. When you have opportunity for personal gain and choose the greater good instead, you're sitting on the eternal throne. Because that discipline, that choice, becomes the story people tell forever. But legacy doesn't require historical fame. The most powerful legacies are often the quietest. The grandmother who survived the Depression and taught her family the value of discipline through her example. Her grandchildren became successful because they learned to save, to work, to persevere. Her great-grandchildren, who never met her, still benefit from the financial habits and work ethic she established. She's not in history books, but her legacy is real and powerful and eternal within her family line. The father who came home exhausted every day but still played with his children, who showed them that work is important but family is paramount, who demonstrated that discipline means showing up even when you're tired. His children learned that love is a verb, not a feeling. They learned that commitment means continuing when it's hard. They became exceptional parents themselves. His discipline rippled forward, creating generations of strong families. No statues, no plaques, but a legacy more valuable than gold. The teacher who stayed late to help struggling students, who believed in kids everyone else had given up on, who used their own money to buy supplies, who treated education as a sacred duty, not just a job. Hundreds of students passed through that classroom. Some became doctors. Some became teachers themselves. Some became parents who valued education because they had a teacher who cared. That teacher's discipline created cascading success. One person's commitment to excellence multiplied through hundreds of lives. That's immortality. That's the throne. You don't need to be famous to be legendary. You need to be disciplined. Consistently. Relentlessly. In ways that matter. And what matters most is how you treat people when you have nothing to gain. How you act when no one's watching. What you do when it would be easier to do nothing. These are the moments that define your legacy. These are the choices that echo through time. The ancient Stoics practiced what they called memento mori. Remember death. They kept skulls on their desks. They meditated on mortality. Not because they were morbid, but because death is the ultimate clarifier. When you remember you're going to die, everything becomes clear. The petty things don't matter. The ego games don't matter. The comfortable lies don't matter. Only truth matters. Only impact matters. Only legacy matters. Death is not your enemy. Death is your advisor. It tells you to stop wasting time, to stop being small, to stop playing it safe. Because safe is temporary, but legacy is eternal. Steve Jobs, in his Stanford commencement speech, said that remembering he would die was the most important tool he had to make big choices. When you know death is coming, you stop caring about embarrassment. You stop caring about failure. You stop caring about what people think, because you realize that everyone who might judge you is also going to die. Their opinions are as temporary as yours, but your work, your impact, your discipline, that can last forever. So why waste your finite time on infinite trivialities? Why spend your brief existence in comfortable mediocrity when you could spend it building something eternal? This is why discipline becomes easier when you fully accept mortality, when you truly understand that you have limited time, when you viscerally feel that death is coming and coming soon. Suddenly, hitting snooze seems absurd. Eating junk food seems absurd. Watching television for hours seems absurd. Staying in jobs you hate seems absurd. Maintaining relationships that drain you seems absurd. All of it becomes clearly, obviously absurd when you remember you're going to die. And in that clarity, discipline emerges naturally, not as something you force yourself to do, but as the only logical response to mortality. The ancient Spartans had a tradition. Every morning, young warriors would visit the graves of fallen heroes. They would stand there in silence, contemplating mortality, connecting with legacy. Then they would train harder than the day before, because they understood that every day of life is a gift from the dead. Your existence is purchased with the sacrifice of everyone who came before you, ancestors who fought and bled and died so you could live. You honor them not with words, but with how you live. You honor them by being worthy of their sacrifice. You honor them by continuing their discipline, strengthening it, passing it forward. You are standing on a mountain of skulls. Every human who ever lived, every person who ever struggled, every soul who ever dreamed, they all died so you could be here. Their deaths purchased your life. The question is, what are you doing with it? Are you wasting their sacrifice on comfort and entertainment? Or are you building on their foundation, adding your own layer of discipline to the structure they began? Are you a worthy successor? Or are you the weak link where the chain breaks? This might sound heavy. It is heavy. The throne is heavy. Legacy is heavy. Responsibility is heavy. But heavy things build strength. And you were built to carry heavy things. You were built to bear the weight of your ancestors' dreams and your descendants' futures. You were built to sit on the throne and rule with discipline. You were built for this. The only question is whether you'll accept the weight or shirk it. Look at your hands. These hands can build or destroy. They can create legacy or waste potential. They can plant trees for future generations or take shortcuts that poison the soil. Your hands are tools of legacy. What are you building with them? Look at your mind. This mind can learn, grow, create wisdom that outlives your body. Or it can atrophy, consuming entertainment, never contributing anything permanent. Your mind is a potential monument. What are you carving into it? Look at your time. Every second is gone forever, spent or invested, wasted or leveraged. Your time is your only non-renewable resource. What are you trading it for? The mathematics of legacy are brutal and beautiful. One disciplined choice creates multiple opportunities. Each opportunity, if seized with discipline, creates more opportunities. The growth is exponential. One conversation inspires one person, who inspires 10 people who each inspire 100. Within a few iterations, your initial discipline has touched millions. But the inverse is also true. One undisciplined choice closes opportunities. Each closed opportunity makes discipline harder. The decay is exponential. One broken promise erodes trust. Eroded trust destroys relationships. Destroyed relationships isolate you. Within a few iterations, you are alone, impotent, forgotten. You are either in a growth spiral or a death spiral. There is no plateau. You're either building legacy or destroying it. Every day, every choice, every moment. The throne demands constant vigilance, constant discipline, constant choice of growth over comfort. Because the moment you stop choosing growth, you start dying. Not someday. Right then. The decay begins immediately. The legacy starts crumbling. The throne becomes hollow. But here's the beautiful part. The redemptive part. The part that makes all of this bearable. You can change the trajectory. Today. Right now. This moment. It doesn't matter how much time you've wasted. It doesn't matter how many opportunities you've squandered. It doesn't matter how weak you've been. You can start building legacy now. The moment you choose discipline, you begin the growth spiral. The moment you sit on the throne, you start ruling. The moment you accept responsibility for those who come after, you become worthy of those who came before. The ancient concept of kairos versus chronos. Chronos is chronological time, the steady tick of the clock. Kairos is the opportune moment, the right time, the moment when change becomes possible. Right now is your kairos. This is the moment where you can choose differently, where you can begin building instead of destroying, where you can start the legacy that will outlive your flesh. Chronos will continue regardless. You can't stop the clock. But Kairos? Kairos is yours to seize or miss. And once missed, it may never come again. The Chinese have a saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. You can't change the past. You can't recover wasted years. But you can plant trees now. You can begin building legacy now. You can start sitting on the throne now. And if you do, if you truly commit, 20 years from now you'll have a forest. 40 years from now, your forest will seed itself, spreading beyond what you can see. 100 years from now, people will walk in your forest and never know who planted it. But the forest will be real, eternal, your legacy. This is the promise of the eternal throne. It's not guaranteed. It's not automatic. It's not easy. But it's possible. For anyone. For you. Regardless of where you are. Regardless of what you've done or failed to do. Regardless of everything except one thing. Your choice. Right now. This moment. Will you build? Or will you waste? Will you sit on the throne? Or will you abdicate? Will you become a legend? Or will you become dust? The throne awaits. It has always awaited. It will always await. Because the throne isn't a place. It's a choice. The choice to live with discipline. To build with purpose. To create with intention. To lead by example. To sacrifice comfort for legacy. To trade temporary pleasure for permanent impact. The throne is the decision to matter. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who comes after. The decision to be more than dust, to be more than memory, to be eternal. Alexander, Marcus Aurelius, Washington, Cincinnatus, Jobs. Different eras, different challenges, different circumstances. But one commonality. They sat on the throne. They chose discipline. They built legacy. They became immortal. Not because they were special, but because they chose to be. And that choice is available to you. Right now. Today. This moment. Your name may never be in history books. Statues may never be erected in your honor. Schools may never be named after you. But legacy isn't about fame. It's about impact. And impact doesn't require recognition. It requires discipline. The discipline to be excellent when no one's watching. The discipline to build when no one's applauding. The discipline to give when no one's thanking. The discipline to continue when everyone else quits. This is how you build the eternal throne. This is how you achieve immortality. Not through fame, but through influence. Not through recognition, but through transformation. Not through monuments, but through lives changed. And when your body finally fails, when your last breath escapes, when your heart beats its final beat, you will face the ultimate question. The question every human faces. Did I matter? Did my life mean something? Did I leave the world better than I found it? And if you've lived with discipline, if you've sat on the throne, if you've built your legacy moment by moment, day by day, year by year, you'll know the answer. Yes. Yes, you mattered. Yes, your life meant something. Yes, you left the world better. Because your discipline became someone else's inspiration. Your strength became someone else's permission. Your example became someone else's blueprint. And that someone inspired another, and another, and another. Ripples that never stop. Influence that never dies. Legacy that never ends. This is the eternal throne. Not a destination, but a journey. Not a reward, but a responsibility. Not a crown, but a choice. The choice to be disciplined. The choice to be excellent. The choice to be eternal. Now sit. Rule with wisdom. Lead with strength. Build with purpose. And never ever stop. Because those who come after are counting on you. Those who came before are watching you. And history is waiting to see what you'll do. The throne is yours. Claim it. The final choice. The story began with Prometheus, stealing fire from the gods. But there's more to that myth. After Prometheus was chained to the rock, after the eagle devoured his liver for thousands of years, Heracles came, the greatest hero ever born. And he freed Prometheus. Not because Zeus commanded it, but because Heracles chose to. Because he saw suffering and chose to end it. Because he was strong enough to defy the gods themselves. This is the choice before you now. Will you remain chained to your weakness? Or will you become the hero who breaks your own chains? Everything you've heard in this journey comes down to one choice. One decision. One moment. This moment. Not tomorrow. Not Monday. Not when conditions are perfect. Now. Right now. You stand at the crossroads where more humans have stood than you can count. Behind you is the comfortable path. The path you've always walked. The path of least resistance. The path where discipline is optional and excuses are acceptable. The path that leads exactly where you've been heading. Mediocrity. Regret. The slow death of potential. You know this path intimately. You've walked it for years, maybe decades. And you know where it leads. Before you is the other path. The path less traveled. The path that requires everything. The path where discipline is not optional. Where weakness is not acceptable. Where comfort is sacrificed for growth. This path is steep. It's narrow. It's lonely. Most who start it turn back within days. They can't handle the discomfort. They can't handle the pain. They can't handle looking in the mirror and seeing all the years they wasted. But those few who take this path and stay on it, they become legends. They become the people others tell stories about. They become the heroes of their own lives. The choice is binary. There's no middle path. There's no compromise. You cannot walk both paths. You cannot have comfort and growth. You cannot have discipline and chaos. You cannot have strength and weakness. You must choose. And that choice, that singular decision, determines everything that follows. Who you become, what you build, how you're remembered, everything. One choice. This choice. Now, here's what choosing discipline means. It means waking up tomorrow at the time you decide tonight. No snooze. No negotiation. It means doing the hard thing first, before the easy things, every single day. It means keeping your word to yourself, even when no one would know if you broke it. It means choosing growth over comfort in 1,000 small moments that no one sees, but that define who you are. It means suffering, real suffering, the burn of muscles pushed past limits, the ache of a mind stretched by difficult learning, the pain of letting go of who you were to become who you need to be. It means walking away from people, habits, comforts that no longer serve your highest self. It means being misunderstood, judged, criticized by those who chose the comfortable path and resent that you chose differently. But here's what that choice creates. Strength, real strength, not just physical, though you'll have that, but strength of character, strength of will, strength of identity. You will become someone you can trust, someone you can rely on, someone who does what they say. You will become someone others look to when things get hard, someone whose very presence inspires, someone who proves that transformation is possible. You'll build a life worth living, not a life of constant pleasure, but a life of constant growth, not a life of ease, but a life of meaning, not a life everyone wants, but a life few achieve. The gods are watching, not literal gods, maybe, but the eternal forces that determine who rises and who falls. Success, history, legacy. They're watching to see what you choose. And they don't care about your excuses. They don't care about your circumstances. They don't care about what happened to you. They only care about what you do next. Right now, this moment. Will you choose the weapon of discipline? Will you pick it up and wield it? Or will you walk away and pretend you never saw it? Here's the truth. You can't unknow what you now know. You can't unhear these words. You can't go back to comfortable ignorance. You now understand that your life could be different, that you could be different. That discipline is the weapon that changes everything. You can choose not to use that weapon, but you can't choose not to know it exists. And that knowledge will haunt you. Every time you choose comfort over growth, every time you hit snooze, every time you break a promise to yourself, you'll remember. You'll know you could have been more, and that knowing will become a weight you carry forever. Or you can choose differently. You can choose the path of discipline. You'll fail. You'll fall. But if you keep choosing discipline, if you refuse to quit, those failures become lessons. Those falls become fuel. And one day, you'll wake up stronger, harder, more capable. You've become someone you're proud to be. The warrior stands before two doors. One leads to comfort and decay. The other leads to suffering and transformation. The warrior doesn't hesitate, because comfort is the true suffering. Living below your potential is the real pain. Never knowing who you could have been is the ultimate tragedy. So the warrior chooses the hard path, because it's worthy, because it transforms you into someone worth being. You are that warrior. You've just been asleep, dreaming comfortable dreams while your potential withered. But you're awake now. You feel it, the call of your highest self. If you answer that call now, if you choose discipline now, everything changes. Today becomes the day you stopped existing and started living. The day you claimed the weapon of gods, discipline, the weapon that forged order from chaos. The weapon that transforms mortals into legends. It's lying at your feet, waiting for you to pick it up. Will you? Or will you turn away and spend the rest of your life wondering what if? The choice is yours. No one can make it for you. You must choose it. You must commit completely. No half measures. Only doing. Only becoming. The gods watch. History watches. Your future self watches. What you do next determines everything. So choose now. Choose discipline. Pick up the weapon. Claim your throne. Build your legacy. The weapon is in your hand. The throne awaits. What will you do? Who will you become? Choose discipline. Choose strength. Choose to become a god among mortals. The power has always been yours. Now use it. The journey begins now.